Hello. I wanted to share today something really vulnerable for me, and I'm working on showing up really authentically. And so part of that means being vulnerable when I need to be. So, yeah, I have a lot of emotions around this, but I'm gonna power through. Basically, what I want to share about is my struggles with alcohol consumption again. I shared a while ago, about 6.5 years ago, I restructured my relationship with alcohol. I had a huge breakthrough. I had started meditating again. Not again, but I had started meditating regularly. And when I started doing that, after a few months, I realized that I had started to form an addictive relationship with alcohol. So, what that looked like for me was, I was in my early 20s, early mid 20s at the time. And when I turned 21, I was so excited to be able to buy alcohol whenever I wanted to. But that allowed me to form a dependency and an addictive relationship with alcohol. I realized that this had happened because I was becoming more aware of my thoughts through meditation. And when I was driving to work one day, to the elementary school where I worked at the time, I had a thought pop into my head, and the thought said, "Can't wait to get home and have a drink tonight." And I thought, oh shit, like that's not good that I'm having that thought on my way to work, what the fuck? And then I realized, oh my gosh, I have completely fallen into this habit of every day after work going home and having a drink to relax. And that's a really unhealthy way to relax. There are a lot more healthy ways to get that feeling of relaxation. So I decided that happened for me in December sometime. So towards the end of 2018, and I decided in January to do a dry January. And so I didn't drink any alcohol, and I was sharing about my process on Instagram and got a lot of really positive feedback from a lot of friends being really inspired by what I was doing and me sharing my process. So this now is really hard for me to share because I feel really shameful and have some guilt around it as well in my relationship with my husband. I won't talk about him and his experience, but yeah, so I'm processing a lot of emotions, but this is a really important step for me to be sharing about this. And I'm really committed at this point to not drinking, at least not making it a habitual thing. It's been hard for me to have that boundary. So let me share a little bit more about my process, because I did have about 1.5 years of complete sobriety from everything. No smoking any weed, no doing anything, no drinking, and that was really powerful for me. I felt so good. And during the time, I was really tapping into my intuition, and I needed to have a really strong connection with my intuition and with my spirit team and with Source, because I was actually bringing in something. I was tapping into what I found out was a shamanic healing modality, and this was all intuitively guided. So it happened when I started meditating again regularly when my son was 6 months old. When he would nap in the middle of the day, I would sit down beside him on the floor in the bedroom and do my meditation. And it was so important for me to get back into my practice of meditating as a mom. And that's when I started connecting a lot more deeply again with my intuition, that guidance, really listening to the guidance. And I was guided to study hypnotherapy. So I taught myself online how to use different hypnotherapy techniques to bring somebody into a deeply relaxed trance state. And I started offering sessions to people. And at first, they were free. And it was so powerful right away. I was reading books about psychotherapists who had used hypnotherapy in their sessions, and their clients started kind of accidentally tapping into past lives, and it changed the whole trajectory of the person's career. They committed their career to using these forms of hypnotherapy and intentionally tapping into those past life experiences. And I started realizing that the energies in the person's body that I was doing the session with was related to their chakra system. So then I started studying the chakras more deeply. I had minimal knowledge before that, but I started deeply studying the chakra system, and I started doing energy clearings, and I was facilitating the clearings. It's really the client who's doing it in the sessions. It's not me doing the clearing. I'm just helping them figure out where the energies are stuck and how to utilize the tools to clear the energy. But these are the sessions that I now call quantum soul alchemy. And so at the time when I was receiving this guidance, I was realizing that every time I drank alcohol or smoked weed, it was limiting my ability to connect clearly. So it was really important for me at the time, and that was my motivation to stay sober and to have that crystal clear connection with source, with my spirit team. And I'm getting full body chills of confirmation right now. I had a really powerful session with a man who was a stranger to me. I didn't know him at all. I connected with him through a local community text thread, and he had such a powerful experience. At the end of his session, he said to me, "Did you study with this woman in Eureka? Her name's Michael. She's a shaman healer." And I said, "No, I didn't study with anybody. I studied with myself. I taught myself how to do this, and with the help of my guides and everything." And he was kind of blown away, and so was I, because he said, "Well, you were using the same techniques that she used, down to the light breathing and the chakra clearing and the tapping into the past lives." And it was so like validating for me to have that feedback, and to then know that I had really tapped into something that was real and something that was true and something that's a healing modality that's probably been used for thousands of years. So that was really, really cool. But what I'm getting at is that was my motivation then to stay sober. But now I don't have that type of motivation. I do have other forms of motivation. I want to be crystal clear so that I can connect deeply with my intuition, with source, with my guides. And I also really want to set a good example for my son. I don't want him to grow up in a family where everyday habitual drinking is a thing, because I know that every single time we drink alcohol, we're lowering our vibration, and it's dampening our connection with source and our intuition and our guides, like I said. So that's my main motivation right now. I don't have a problem drinking. I don't drink in excess anymore to the point where I black out or get angry or anything like that. So that's where it's kind of tricky, because I don't have any physical things in my life that it's affecting in a negative way, if that makes sense. So it's kind of easy to think, well, it's not that big of a deal. and I don't really have a problem with it, but I know that every single time I do it, it's lowering my vibration, clogging up my channel. So I'm going to stick to that, and that's going to be my motivation. The other motivation is that I'm working on, showing up on here in a more authentic way, like I said, and I'm working on building my business, my spiritual business, to help others. And it's like, well, how am I supposed to, it feels kind of like hypocritical in a way of like, how am I going to show up on here and try to be this spiritual person trying to help people, and yet I'm like habitually drinking every day? Like, that's not, it's like that cognitive dissonance sort of situation where those things don't really match up, so I feel like in a way I'm holding myself back, and it's probably a form of self-sabotage, because in a way I'm afraid of my powerful self. I'm afraid to be that version of me because it's scary. It's like a new level. It's like, it's intimidating a little bit, but I want to achieve that success, and I want to help more people. And I think by helping myself and being true to my way and showing up as a role model is going to be what's going to help me succeed in this. So, because that's the goal, is to help other people. Obviously, I want to be financially compensated, and I want to have a financial support system that can help me, but I want to do that through what I love and what I know that my mission is to be here to help people and to help uplift others. But in order for me to do that at my highest capacity, I have to be able to function at my highest capacity. And in order to do that, I can't be habitually drinking. It's not in alignment anymore. Whew, oh my God, this actually feels so good to talk about this and to say this out loud. I just keep getting the full body chills, and it's just like, it's so powerful. So what really clicked in for me yesterday in making the decision now to remain sober from alcohol is I was journaling, and like I've been sharing, I've been journaling for my art therapy group every morning, 3 pages handwritten, and it feels so good to do that. And another tool that I've been really drawn to, one of my favorite modalities that I've learned so far in my master's program for marriage and family therapy, it's called internal family systems theory. And it's another word that a term that people use is called parts work, because it's about working with the different parts inside of you and healing whatever needs to be healed around those different parts. And so what I realized was there were like these 2 parts of me that would say different conflicting things in my head. So yesterday in my journal, I started writing what the different sides were saying, and it became like this dialogue between them where they were talking back and forth to each other. And then eventually what happened was the more negative side, the one that was trying to get me to drink, it realized that the other side was actually right, and their points became invalidated. And so it was such a powerful healing experience, and it really solidified my choice to remain abstinent from alcohol. So while I'm also working on really tuning in and listening to the intuitive guidance and acting on that. So one of the things that came to mind while I was journaling was, I need to share this. I need to read out loud my journal entry. So I'm actually not supposed to go back and read from my journal for like 8 weeks of this art therapy program, but too bad. I'm going to break that rule because this is important and I need to share this. Let's see. Okay. So here we go. 7/13/25. I don't know why I'm having such a hard time not drinking for more than a few days at a time. I did stop for about a week and a half a little while ago because I asked God to make me sick if I drank, and then a couple days later we went to Redwood Curtain and I had a really hard time finishing my stout. I finally finished it all, and then as we were walking to the car, I started to feel really sick. Then I laid wrapped in a blanket in the living room while David put Alex to bed, and I felt so awful. I had the chills, even though I was all wrapped up, but I didn't have a fever. My head hurt and my stomach felt weird, and I went to bed early. Then the next day, I felt like I had a gnarly hangover all day. I thought at the time it was the beer, and that motivated me to not drink for a week and a half. But then I started thinking that maybe the meat stick that I ate before we went to the curtain was bad, and maybe I actually had food poisoning. So that thought made me try drinking again, and then I wasn't drinking every day, but it slowly crept back up on me. I'm finding it very hard to only drink on the weekends. When Taco Tuesday comes around every week, I crave a margarita to go with the cheap tacos, and that place is also appealing because then I don't have to cook. I feel like part of me doesn't want to drink, and part of me does for some reason. The part of me that does want to says things like, it will be fun, it will feel good to let loose, you won't feel that bad afterwards, it will be okay. And the part of me that doesn't want to drink says things like, each and every time you drink, it lowers your vibration. It doesn't really feel that good, and it doesn't really even make you have more fun. In fact, it probably feels worse than being sober, and it probably makes you feel less fun, actually. Make you have less fun, actually. Drinking slowly shuts down your connection to source and makes your intuition become weaker. It is a form of self-sabotage. Then the other part of me says, yeah, but God isn't mad at me for drinking. He loves me unconditionally, so it's not that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things. Then the other part of me says, yeah, but wouldn't you rather be as connected to source and your intuition as you possibly can? What if the alcohol is stopping you from being able to achieve your full potential? Maybe you're drinking to stall your own success because you're scared. When you're ready, stop drinking long term and see what happens. Now the other part of me is starting to see that maybe drinking isn't such a good idea. Maybe we should stop and see what happens. I know it will send a ripple of positive vibrations through the world and universe. It can only be a good thing. Let's do it. I'm ready. Thank God. Oh my gosh, that was so powerful. I didn't expect it to be so emotional for me, but it was just to actually read that out loud and to hear that inner dialogue was just really powerful and really healing. So if you're still watching this, thank you for being here with me on this journey, and thank you for watching this, and I hope that this inspires somebody in some way. If you're also struggling with alcohol consumption, I am here for you. We are in this together. And I met up with my friend Francisca yesterday to go to the Humboldt Unitarian Universalist Fellowship for the service, and it was so beautiful, so inspiring. I posted about it in my story right after because it was so powerful, the service yesterday. But my friend Francisca and I are gonna start some sort of support group for people in this same situation. So I went out yesterday and I bought myself some Sierra Nevada Hop Splash, and it's really good, really refreshing. So I'll be drinking this for a while, and also lots of water, obviously, lots of yummy fruit juices, and I really love the Zevia sodas. It's sugar-free, sweetened with stevia. All the flavors are really good. My favorites are root beer and lemon lime, so I'll be drinking those. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Sending big love and blessings to you.